Hello, and welcome to the Degrees of Success podcast. I'm your host, Freda Richards, and today we have an incredible guest, Matthew Phillips. Matthew is the Chief of Staff and Customer Service Officer at Detroit Water and Sewage Department. He's also a 2023 grad from the University of Phoenix. Please help me welcome Matthew Phillips.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we want to just jump right in and learn more about you right away. So first things first, tell us about your background and where you grew up and how you grew up and what kind of kid you were.
Wow. I'm not sure I can tell the honest story on that one, but no, just kidding. No, I grew up in a suburb of Detroit, Michigan. And I've lived in Michigan my entire life. I think I just had a regular childhood. As far as my upbringing, I was very close to my family and my cousins. As far as sports go, I played ice hockey almost all my entire life. So I kind of have that, and I still do that today. And let's see. Probably the most exciting thing that I think most people are like, wow, that's an interesting piece, is that I actually met my wife when we were both in sixth grade. So elementary school, we knew each other, and we were just kind of, I don't want to say best friends, but we were just friends. We knew each other all through junior high and high school. And our senior year in high school, we got really close to each other. And I asked her to prom. And from then on, we were completely inseparable. We ended up starting our university or college careers together. We went to the same university just so we could be together. I've been married to Jenny for an awfully long time. We have two beautiful, lovely children that are 3 years apart, and they both go to the same university together here in Michigan. In fact, they are now roommates. So my oldest daughter is now starting her master's degree, and my youngest daughter is a sophomore, and they live together in the same apartment. And so that's very comforting to know. So that's probably kind of the inside track on who I am and kind of what I'm all about.
For sure. It sounds like you have a really great foundation, like a wife you've known since the sixth grade. Who can say that? That's amazing. And you have two awesome daughters, both in college and roommates.
Yes.
That's incredible. What are your daughter's degrees going to be in?
So my oldest daughter is going into higher education administration. So she wants to be like an admissions counselor or recruiter of some type. She works for the dean of the English department. So she's really kind of fallen in love with that aspect. She wanted to be a secondary math teacher, but she really fell in love with like University of Life and what it's like to try to help individuals find their way, young adults find their way into a career and whatnot. And so she's really kind of put her hat into that ring, I guess. And my youngest daughter wants to be in communications and marketing. So both of them were in marching band, and both of them were drum majors. So they both led the band. They're actually the first sisters or siblings that were leading the marching band of 150 students. So they do have a leadership, I guess, in their bones. I guess I always say they're kind of following in my footsteps. It's great to kind of watch them grow and find their way through life and make decisions. It's very interesting. And I've been very supportive of any decisions that they've wanted to make or any changes that they've wanted to make in their schooling. So it's been fun.
Oh my goodness, your daughters sound amazing. It also sounds like they have a really great mentor in you, and definitely probably following Dad's footsteps. What does that look like for you as you were going through your career and your educational journey? Who would you say influenced you the most and how?
Well, I would say that my influences likely came from my father, who was, very, very rigid and very structured. and home and family life. And definitely wanted me to do whatever it was that made me happy, but was relatively rigid in the structure that you have to have a college degree. And yeah, I'll just tell you how old I am. I'm 52 years old. And I think growing up in the 80s, very much from the counselors in high school was, if you don't go to college and you're not on the college track, you likely won't be successful. And one of the things that really interested me in school was probably more of the trades. So I was really excited in, wood shop, metal shop, photography. I was not equipped from an artistic standpoint of being a painter or something like that. I think that's the way most of us think about it, but definitely hands-on, creative. And I really liked instant gratification. And when I got to college, in my first kind of stepping into that world out of high school, having instant gratification just wasn't there. And so sitting in classes in the traditional type of classroom setting, I will just say I was probably the student that was most likely looking out the window and kind of dreaming about what else I could be doing besides sitting here. And some of the courses that you take in college are some of the courses that for me was, where does this get me? Where will I ever use this in real life per se? And most of that just didn't resonate with me. And I had a very difficult time keeping my grades up. And I was not the individual that was like, oh, I'm going to go off and do other things. I'm not going to study. I'm not going to put time in. I definitely put the time in. It just, the amount of time that I was putting into it and what I was getting out of it just wasn't there for me. And so, spending the time at university was something I just couldn't see the end result for. It just wasn't there. And I was looking for the instant gratification. And I always tell people the trades were probably something that I probably would have succeeded at a young age into because of that instant gratification and having something that was hands-on. So I was constantly looking for something that I just wasn't getting. And so for me, starting, I guess, a career became more important to me than finishing college. And I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression, and everybody has a different path in life. And you have to find what that is and what makes sense to you. And starting a family, settling down, I guess, whatever that means a lot to different people, but settling down, starting a family and having a job right away, and then seeing kind of the fruits of that, right? Which is, I have a job, I've got a full-time job, I'm no longer on my parents', medical benefits, right? I've got my own medical benefits. I want to save money. I want to get a house. I want to start life. That seemed to be the most important path for me. And that's the path that I took. I mean, I really wanted to be an elementary school teacher. That was really the path that I wanted to go on. And because when you're in front of students, you can start to see that. But sitting in those classes and waiting for that to happen just wasn't there for me. And because of my sports background or ice hockey background, I was running ice hockey camps for kids in the local area. That was I guess that was my entrepreneurial start, was I can do this in the summertime and make money for college, to go away to university. But it was the gratification. I got to have, 50, 60 kids in front of me for 4 hours a week and watch them grow and watch them flourish. And I could nurture them and teach them something, and they could walk away and use it right away, which, wow, that was me, right? I wanted to use whatever skill I was learning at university right away, but you can't do that. You've got to wait 4 or 5 years to graduate and then make that happen. So you can kind of see where all of that was forming for me and why it probably didn't work for me in the right way that traditionally for a lot of people it probably went. But I mean, by time 5 years went by of, I'll just say, dabbling into college or university life, I mean, I'd accumulated 70 or 80 credits. I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't doing something. It just wasn't everything that I was looking for. So I started, I guess, a real career. So that's probably like where your next question is going to go, is how did that progress? Like, what did that look like? Where were you going?
Are you trying to steal my job?
I'm not trying to steal your job. just have
Because
a
you're excellent. I mean, honestly, you just knew that where the conversation would naturally lead. Honestly, I would love to know more about your career. What I'm hearing you say is that you are passionate about serving and you have a great desire to be impactful in other people's lives. And I heard you say that your daughter is looking into higher education for something similar. So that seems to be a vein that runs through the family. That's excellent. So, Matthew, in your 52 years, you've had a multitude of experiences that led you to where you are now. One of which is being an entrepreneur and running your own franchise. Tell me how that led you and shaped you in leadership.
Yeah. So, I got my start kind of in the, I guess my career start after going to college or university just didn't kind of pan out for me at the moment. And so I got to start in customer service. And so working in customer service was something that really, I guess, filled the vacancy that I was looking for. And, at the end of the day, now I see it as being a public servant is something that is, I guess, that runs through my veins, is that I do get a high amount of gratification or satisfaction out of being a public servant. And there's multiple ways that you can be a public servant. And customer service kind of got me into that dabble. And I mean, able to dabble into that area. And customer service can mean many things, but I really got my start in, quote unquote, call centers. And it didn't take very long of getting into that where somebody recognized that, hey, you've got some leadership. You take initiative. You're a risk taker. You've got strong ethics, and you've got an ability to talk to people and to show emotions and be empathetic at the same time. And while not all of those are, leadership traits, but a lot of them, it serves you very well to have those types of things to work in leadership. So it didn't take very long that I was working my way up in leadership positions. Of course, it takes a little bit extra to continue to, as they say, work your way up the ladder. It takes a lot longer when you don't have a college degree to go along with that. And so, yeah, I had to work extra hard to prove, I guess, my worth and to prove that I belong in that area, which I will just tell you, I talk a lot. So I think you guys have already seen that. And, it's taken me a while to kind of unpack that and say, why does that happen? Why do you talk so much? And it's likely because I needed to prove that I belonged at the same table as everybody else. And I tend to talk a lot to try to prove to people that I do have the knowledge, I do have the skill set, I do have the ability to be there. But customer service really shaped me. And having that ability to give back, whether that's to a customer on the other end of the phone that's looking for, let's just face it, people don't call customer service or don't interact at a customer service level because they believe that everything is great. They have a problem, which again, hey, wow, that makes me a problem solver. And solving problems gives me a purpose and keeps me engaged and keeps me excited. So again, that's the kind of that instant gratification that was always there. I could get somebody on the phone or somebody face to face and hear what their problem is and say, I can help solve that problem for you. It's very challenging. It's very engaging for me. But yeah, there was, after, 20 years of kind of working in customer service, I said to myself, I can probably do this on my own or do something that was, more on my own. And I was looking to start my own business. And one of the areas that I had never worked on was working in the restaurant industry. And again, restaurant industry is something you're face to face with everybody every day. It takes a lot of leadership. It takes a lot of initiative. There's a lot of planning that goes into owning a restaurant. I probably had no business owning a restaurant, never have worked, whether it was, bussing tables or washing dishes or working as a waiter or, front end, back end of a restaurant. I had no experience whatsoever, probably didn't belong in it. And somewhere along the way, I convinced somebody that I wanted to be a franchisee and went to this franchisor and said, and it's not like, somebody just plunks down a chunk of money and says, I want to be a franchise. Franchisors don't want to have a franchisee that's a failure, because that's on them too, right? That's their name. That's their brand. They're in the community, serving the community in some type of capacity. They don't want that either. So there is an interview process that you have to go through. And in this case, the actual owner of the franchise wanted to talk to me personally before they would even allow me to even go forward in the franchise process. And so, I met the franchisee that was offering, and it's not as simple as I think as people think. And I will tell you that out of all of that, that was one of the things that really shaped me further in my career as a leader, because, when you're working for somebody else, the money comes from somebody else. Or, when you want to open up another location because you're expanding the business, you're doing that on somebody else's dime, or they have to go and get a business loan. And when you're asking, well, it doesn't seem like a lot probably to a lot of people, but when you're putting your house and your own 401k, your retirement plan up as collateral so that you can get a, $400,000 loan to open up a restaurant, which, oh, by the way, 50% of every restaurant fails within the first 12 months. That's a statistic that exists. And you have to go to a bank and say, hey, I need a loan to go forward. And they're asking you for collateral. I mean, my family, my wife, whatever, is saying, so you're telling me if 50% of every restaurant that opens fails, and that means our house could be taken from us, I'm not sure that's a risk that, I'm willing to take. So not only was it selling the person that owns the franchise to say, hey, I want to be part of your brand, but you're also convincing your family that we're going to be successful. I would say that we got part of it's luck. A lot of it is a lot of hard work. I could not quit my job. That was just something that you don't realize. I think a lot of people think, oh, you own a business, you must be rich. Life must be great for you. No, I didn't make any money from it. Realistically, at the end of the day, you're paying back. This isn't a house loan where you're buying a $500,000 home and you've got 30 years to pay it off. The bank wants it paid off in 10 years. So everything that you quote unquote make as a profit is going to pay back the loans that you had to take to do it, because most people just don't have $400,000 sitting around that they can just take and open up a business. So it's a lot of work. So I was working a full-time job as the chief operating officer of a nonprofit that was one of the largest nonprofits here in the state of Michigan. So I was doing that 12 hours a day. And then literally in the morning before, and I don't want to give away exactly what the franchise was, but you guys know it's a restaurant. But as they say, the donuts have to be made in the morning, and it was not a donuts, but I mean, the bread has to be baked in the morning, right? So if the person that shows up at 6:30 in the morning to put the dough in the oven doesn't show up, guess who does? The buck stops with the business owner. So I had to make sure. So I had to go first thing in the morning to make sure that that's happening. And at the end of the day, somebody's got to come in, into the business and make sure that everything's getting done. So, 12-hour days that's what was my normal job. And now I have to either show up in the morning or, in the afternoon, or at least watch cameras. I mean, you're traveling in your normal job. You're watching cameras. You're making sure that things are happening within the business, making sure that the orders get done, because if food doesn't show up and can't serve your customers, then you're not making any money. So it's a lot of work. I would just say that it's very gratifying. And there is a lot of things that I learned about, again, like I've said, how do you get a loan? How do you write a business? I'd never written a business plan before. I've been in business. I mean, I was running Fortune 500 companies. I was running their customer service. I was opening up call centers or contact centers across the country, including one in Montego Bay, Jamaica. So I guess you could consider that international. So, I had a lot of experience, but how do you write a business plan to a bank and prove to them that this is going to be a profitable business and I'm going to be able to pay all this off in the next 10 years and be able to hire staff? I had the staffing part of it down, but some of that other things, you just can't have that unless you do it. And it takes a lot of work to do it. I got really lucky that I was ready to expand to 5 other locations here in Michigan. And my mentor in the restaurant business just happened to, I would meet with him every quarter and tell him what was going on and ask for advice. And he would give me advice. And I was ready to go open up 4 more locations in Michigan. And he was just like, Matt, if you're not going to quit your job, if that's your passion is what you're doing now, along with this, you have to pick one. You can only do one or the other. And, and to be honest with you, he made an offer to me that I just couldn't refuse, which was 6 months before COVID hit. And I have to count some blessings along the way. And I had a lot of them that just said this was the right time to do it. I sat down with my family and talked about it. And as much as I believed in where I was going with this business, and as much as it's still successful today, and it's absolutely fantastic. And that individual that bought it from me, he is super successful in the franchise business, and he's taken it to a place. And I'm proud of what I did, and I have zero regrets in what I did. But it was likely killing me at the same time, physically and mentally. And I'll share with the group as kind of a public service message, is that listen to your body. I will tell everybody that. Listen to your body, listen to what it's telling you. And I could feel myself being run down, being in too many places at one time. And I literally went to my doctor at the same time that all that was happening, that COVID was happening. I said, something doesn't feel right within me. I don't know what it is. My dad passed away at 57 years young of a massive heart attack. And I just felt something was in me. And I will just tell you, listen to that. The short story of it is that in October of 2020, in the height of the COVID pandemic, my body really told me something. I went to my doctor. He listened to me and said, I'm going to send you to a cardiologist. I had no other symptoms other than what I felt was in me. And some people say heart-related issues. You get the stabbing in your back, the pain in your left arm, shortness of breath. I had none of that. I was still playing ice hockey twice a week. I didn't have any of those symptoms. I went to a cardiologist and he said, I don't see anything either, but you have great insurance. So let's check into what's going on inside of you. And ended up finding out I needed open heart surgery. And so October 8th, so I just had my 4-year anniversary. October 8th, they went in and took a look and said, you have 3 blockages. One of them was 95% blocked. I probably would have ended up like my father with 0 symptoms and just walking down the street and dropping dead. I hate to say it so bluntly, but that was it. So I had open heart surgery. I had a triple bypass, but safe to today, I can say, in fact, I just had my annual physical and cardiologist appointment this morning. And so I've got a clean bill of health, and all my results are down to where they're supposed to be. And I still play hockey twice a week. So I'm good. But please, my public service message is it's to listen to what's happening. But sorry, I'll get us back on track. Is that
No, I think that was excellent. That actually is the very next track. You were starting your own franchise, or excuse me, having a franchise that you were growing, and then you also you still had a full-time job at the exact same time. Meanwhile, still doing hockey, still being a family man, and still getting your associate's degree, right?
Yes. So that's a great segue. I had sold my franchise. I was 5 years as a chief operating officer at one of the largest nonprofits that was serving the public, helping low-income families in the state of Michigan with their heating and electric bills. In your neighborhood, it's probably cooling, but there's a large federal program that helps low-income families. And again, I was getting a lot of satisfaction out of that. And it just, all at the same time that was happening, I was headhunted. For the first time in my life, I was headhunted. Somebody came to me and said, we have an opportunity that sounds like it fits you. And I'm going to tell this story because at the end of that first couple of interviews, I got a call from the recruiter, which is a story that I had heard so many times over 25, 30 years was, wow, Matt, they really like you. Or Matt, we looked at your resume. Man, that's impressive. But you don't have a bachelor's degree. And it was just that sinking feeling that I had received several times over that was, in my jobs, in my roles that I had, I was progressing. But again, like I said before, I had to prove myself. I had to constantly work harder than everybody else to prove it. But if I knew that I just couldn't go out and apply for any job that was out there, because when they would look at my resume, I probably didn't get the phone calls that some other people would get. Or again, I'd go through that, get through the door, get to the interview, and then, Matt, you don't have that bachelor's degree. And this was one of those cases where I was headhunted. I was super excited. I knew what the job opportunity was, and I knew who it was with, which is where I'm at today. And the recruiter called me and said, Matt, we're at a standstill because it requires you to have a bachelor's degree. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. I just assumed with your background and your resume that it was there. And I was sitting in my car in a parking structure, just thinking to myself, here we go again, right? And luckily enough, 48 hours later, I got a phone call that said, Matt, they're going to move forward with a final interview. You're going to meet with the director, who is the CEO, and the COO. You're going to meet with those two individuals. They've agreed to meet with you because of your resume. And again, I was going into it still thinking to myself, kind of the wah-wah, this will probably be just another one of these times. I got lucky. I got really lucky that the individual, the director, and anywhere else in city government, it's the director of the department, but anywhere else it would be the CEO of the water department, actually knew me through somebody else and said, I know you. Now I know a face with a name. And at the end of the process, I got the job. And that leads me to kind of where you were going with this was, within my first 60 days on the job, and I'm going to tell you his name. His name is Gary Brown. And he sat down with me and he said, Matt, and at first I'm like, I'm only here for a couple months. And oh my God, now the big guy wants to talk to me. Like, did I do something wrong? Of course, that's always, everybody's kind of first thought, right? Going to the principal's office. And Gary sat down with me and he told me kind of his story, which really resonated. He said, Matt, I graduated from high school and I became a bagger at a grocery store and was kind of like, well, where am I going to go from here? And I joined the military. He went to Vietnam, had a good, and moved his kind of way up a little bit in the military, came back and took that background to become a police officer. And he really wanted to get into some of the other specialized areas, whether that's, internal affairs or the narcotics department, that type of thing. And he was told along the way, hey, look, you've got a great career going for you, but in order to get into these other areas, you have to have, an extended, education. You have to have a bachelor's degree, whatever. And he was like, I'm just not sure that's me. And he fought through it, did all those things. He became the deputy chief of the city of Detroit. So, there's a guy and ended up becoming president of city council with the city of Detroit. So this Gary was from a military background to, law enforcement to becoming, a government public servant. Right. And he said, Matt, I trust that you will deliver everything that I need you to deliver in your position. And here comes the but. But if you want to, where I see you going and where I think you can go, I'm sorry to tell you, but same thing somebody told me. If you want to go continue up through the leadership ranks and continue on with this career with the city, you're going to have a bachelor's degree. And so that's when I started. I said, okay, what do I need to do? Where do I need to start? And again, kind of that, you make the phone calls and, I called around and it was like, oh, you got to start over and you're how old again? And, oh, we can't accept those credits here. And yeah, your credits are, 25, 30 years old. That can't happen. And so my first step was getting my associate's degree. And I went back to where I had the most amount of credits. And I asked that university, hey, can I come back to school? They said, hey, you only need 2 more classes and you can get an associate's degree in pre-teaching elementary. And I was like, hey, 2 classes, I can do that. So I got done with those 2 classes, but I got to tell you, those 2 classes were really hard. They were 15 weeks long apiece. And it was kind of a traditional classroom setting. And I was having deja vu of, oh my God, this is really, really hard for me to do. And it was on their time, not my time. So again, I'm trying to balance my career and school. And when that was done, I got my associate's degree. I was on a high. I will tell you, I was like, I did it. I got the piece of paper. I have my associate's degree, but that's not what I need to have done. And I called around. The city of Detroit has numerous partnerships with multiple universities and where you can go. And I will, and this is, I know this will sound like my endorsement of University of Phoenix, but the recruiter that I talked to was so engaging and so exciting. It matched my energy and I got excited. I got really excited by it. And, her words were when I was, that first conversation was, Matt, let me do the work for you. Give me the permission to look at all of you. And I had two community colleges and 2 universities that all my credits were coming from. So that's 4 that this individual had to look up from 1990, okay, for probably 10 years worth of credits where I dabbled in going back to school at some point in time, had to do all that work. And I got a call back within a day or 2 and said, Matt, I've got some great news. We can transfer almost every single credit you've ever taken. And your journey is not going to be another 4 years. It's not even going to be another 2 years. And oh, by the way, you can do this all on your time. And the classes are less than 2 months long. And I will, and I think the thing that really got me was that news. She probably told me another 10, 15 minutes worth of stuff. And I have no idea what she said because I was just like, what? I can do this in less than 2 years? And the classes are short and I can do it on my time, whether that's my lunch hour, after work, on weekends, whatever it has. And I'll let you know the secret. If you can sneak in getting your homework done and doing the study classes and, studying and replying and all the things that are required, if you can do that on your lunch hour and stay an extra hour or 2 after work every day while you're already in your groove, you're already sitting at your computer, everything is set up. That, at least for me, that was my secret. And I can eat my lunch and I can read. And the thing with University of Phoenix is that there's even an option when you can hit a button and it will read the chapters for you. So I could eat my lunch and listen to what was going on. And to me, it provided that path to say, I don't have to set aside all this time. I can do it while I'm doing other work. It was almost, I hate to say it was like a game, but it was like a game. I was like, I can listen, eat my lunch and still stay at work. And I don't have to do this on Saturdays and Sundays. I knew my deadlines, and the recruiter put together the plan for me to say, from January through February 15th, this is what you're going to do. And then starting on this date, this is your next class. And then I got the phone calls. And I will tell you, I took this learning, and this is what we do today, is that every time I got done with the class, I got a text message. Matt, you did it? And there was this confetti that fell from the screen. And I take that now when my customers make a payment and say, I paid, we do a text message that gives fireworks or something else, or just, hey, congratulations, you did it. To me, that was like instant gratification to say, I did it. This is an accomplishment for me. So I've taken some of these learning experiences that I got from University of Phoenix and applied this. And I will tell you that I think, look, I do have the experience. I'm not bragging. It's not that I'm special or anything else, but I have a lot of experience. So I could provide a lot of experiences to my classmates in class and say, hey, these are the things I literally experienced today. And I got to share that with them. And of course, there was individuals, some of my classmates were much younger than I am that didn't have some of the experiences, but had experiences from their level and experiences from what they're facing day to day, which, oh, by the way, are some of my customers. Those are some of my employees that I'm hiring, that I'm trying to recruit. It gave me a different perspective that I know I would have never had in a classroom setting, because in a classroom setting, it's you come in, you sit down, you do what you got to do. You take your 3-hour lecture, God forbid, right? Take my 3-hour lecture and I'm up and I'm out the door, because now it's 9. And this is where I was at. It was my classes in the classroom were for some 6 to 9 at night. So at 9 o'clock, I want to get home. I want to see my kids. I want to say hi to them. I want to see my wife. I want to eat dinner and then, go to bed, right? And so the University of Phoenix takes that to a completely different level, where not only am I doing this on my time, so I do get to see my kids. I get to go to their, marching band events, the football games where they're doing their marching on the field. That's their thing. I get to do all that because that stuff happens after work. I don't have to be in a classroom from 6 to 9 at night. And even my wife went back to school just before I did, because her employer was the same way. Hey, you're a contractor with a major automotive manufacturer. You can pick one of the three. And they told her the same thing. We cannot hire you on full time until you get your bachelor's degree. So she went back to school, but the university that she picked, which did not had traditional type of classroom settings. So on Saturdays and Sundays, once a month, she had to drive to another city that was almost 2 hours away and stay at a hotel and sit all day in a classroom to get the time in. And she missed the events that our children went to that I got to do because she had to do that. And University of Phoenix 100% allowed me to still have time with my family. Still, I will tell you that my boss and my boss's boss had no idea that I was doing this. Although, I mean, as far as taking classes, and they knew I was taking classes and they knew I was getting my bachelor's degree because they were completely supportive of it. But they didn't know that I was doing it on my lunch hour. They didn't know that I was doing it right after work. They just assumed it was a traditional classroom where, after work, I had to get somewhere to, have a classroom setting. So the University of Phoenix, just the opportunity for working adults is absolutely fantastic. And now that I see my kids, it's interesting how the traditional university setting has started to pick up, I think, on the learnings that University of Phoenix has been doing for years. And so they now they call it flex learning. I think they come up with some new names for it, but I was kind of like, wait a minute, you're at school, you're away from school in a dorm setting, and you only have you have 3 classes, your one class meets 3 times a week, but only one of those classes is in person. The rest of it is online, and it's when you want to do it. I thought it was very interesting that, wow, this has already been going on from a university that's, I guess, probably perfected it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a little biased, but I'd have to agree.
I'm sure you are.
Well,
I am too.
I do know, as you speak about your boss and your boss's boss, that they were instrumental to you going back to school and believing in you, saying, I know that you're young and I can see that you're a leader. You have all of this incredible experience, but there's this one thing that we need for you to qualify. Tell us the story about when you got the email with the confetti that your degree had been confirmed.
Yeah. It was one of those, I think I call them coinkydink moments. But yeah, I received the email that said everything's gone, everything's been, I think they call it the audit process. So the audit process is complete. All your classes are there. You officially have done it. Of course, that excitement was fantastic. I literally, as soon as the ability to print that letter or that email or however it comes through, as soon as it came through, I took it right to my boss. I took it right to Deb and I said, Deb, I did it. And I mean, the tears that came out of her eyes. She gave me a huge hug. That was the moment that I knew like this hard work that I had put into it had paid off. We knew you could do it, that type of thing. And I should add that along the way, of the journey at University of Phoenix, it was interesting to hear the feedback that I was getting to say, Matt, you seem way more confident. You are taking more risks than you took before. You're leading in a different way. The confidence that you have and how you present yourself. And at the moment I was hearing those things going, all right, that's pretty good, And now that I look back on it, it was because not only going back to school and knowing what I was going to accomplish was there, but it was also, I was learning things that I hadn't been exposed to before through my coursework that was giving me that confidence. But back to your original question, it always takes me a while to get there, is that, so I just had that. It had only been a few days and I had recently been promoted. Gary had not asked me that my boss's boss, right? That's Gary. He reports directly to the mayor. He's the big guy. And he was the one that really sent me on this journey and gave me that story that I just told you. And he had just recently, within the past few months, had promoted me to chief of staff. This is a position that did not exist within the water department. And it was something new. And I think we can all put together what a chief of staff is. And in fact, I was he told me that in front of the executive team. There's 11, 12 other people in this room. And he says, I just want to let everybody know that I've made Matt my chief of staff. And I was kind of like me? Like, you didn't even have this conversation with me. And I said to him afterwards, I said, what's going on? And he was like, I believe in you 100%. Less than a month later, I have confirmation that I've had this degree. Gary comes in to talk to me. I don't even know what it was. He comes in my office and, I just gotten these hugs and everything from Deb, and I just hadn't had a chance to tell Gary yet. And I don't even know what he was coming in for. I know it wasn't this. And I said, Gary, hang on a second. I have to share this with you. And I must have had 4 or 5 copies, not going to lie to you, of it so I could show people. But I said, Gary, I did it on July 31st, I will get the official degree, but I have officially graduated and I've completed all my coursework. And now I have a bachelor's degree in business management. And he literally stopped in his tracks. He hadn't even sat down. He was still standing there. And he's not a very emotional guy, but he is a very sensitive guy. But the look on his face, I've never seen him embrace anybody, but I was like ready to shake his hand and he put his arms out and I was like, he gave me the pat and he said, I'm so proud of you, brother. And I was like, oh my God, like those types of terms from this guy just was not what I expected. And he's like, I'm so proud of you. I just am. And he said, this could not come at a better moment. And he just kind of like stopped and stared at me for a few minutes and he turned around and walked out. He never told me what it was he was coming in for. I do know, through the background that I think there was some people that were like, how did this guy get chief of staff role? How did this guy move up in this organization? We know he doesn't have a degree, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure those people were out there and maybe rightfully so. But I think Gary now had in his heart, he was saying, I made the right decision, and it's not, look, it's not easy. It's not easy to have a career. It's not easy to be working the hours that we all work, regardless of what position you're in. You have a full-time job and a family. It's a lot of work. And then you add going back to school and taking these courses and having to be diligent about what you do. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to juggle all those things at a time. And I'm sure Gary recognized that. He had gone through it himself. And to know that, in his heart, he knew he made the right decision. I'm glad that he did. And so, I think this kind of solidified what he had done and gave him the everybody, you can all just kind of, you can all go away now because the guy did what he was supposed to do and what I asked him to do. And he did it, and he did it with flying colors. And look, I'm not a genius by any means. And I struggle with everything that I do, but I put my heart and soul into it. And, I got great grades at University of Phoenix, stuff that I just totally did not expect to have, all the extra things that come along with that, and the accolades that you get. And it was a super gratifying experience. Hopefully you can see that in my facial expressions. I am proud of myself. I put in the work, and, I can see it. I can see the payoff. The benefit is 100% there. I have zero regrets about doing it. There's other things in my life I do have regrets about, but this is one that stands out 100% of one of the best things I've done in my life. So,
well, it's so incredible that we had the opportunity to be a part of this part of your journey, to be able to help you have more confidence in what it is that you were already excellent at. You've already been an excellent servant leader. You've already had a substantial amount of experience in business, going from nonprofit to owning your own business, and now being able to utilize those same experiences and to do so with a degree. How pivotal has it been to have such a great support system? You have your incredible family. You have bosses who don't just believe in you, but they literally push you and put you in and give you a position you didn't know about, and announce in a meeting with you finding out at the exact same time.
Right.
And then just to see him come alongside you and just be so happy for you and accomplishing that goal. What that type of leadership, do you think that receiving and experiencing that type of leadership, does that affect how you actually lead as well?
Oh, I would say 100%, because it gives you that perspective that I mean, that's not everybody's going to go through the same experience, right? But so I'll give you two real life examples, and that's probably the best way to do it, is that I had two other individuals that I had worked with, I would say at least 12 or 13 years, that I had mentored them. I had brought them up along the way they did not have degrees either. And so when I started this journey, and we don't work at the same places anymore. We worked together for 10 to 12 years together. But we no longer work together, but we stay in contact. And I knew they still did not have their degrees. And when I started with University of Phoenix, I actually, we try to catch up with each other every 3 or 4 months just to see what's going on. And these two colleagues, I actually said, "Hey, guess what I'm doing?" And they were like, "What?" Like, I didn't think that was you. And I was like, "Well, I didn't think it was either, but I have to do this. And oh, by the way, I'm actually having a little bit of fun with it. Don't tell anybody, but I'm having fun." And both of those individuals, they both now go to University of Phoenix based on my experience with University before I even finished and got my degree. So this was just something I was sharing with them along the way. And there's another individual that I work with today that I know does not have a degree, that does have a pretty high level position. And one of the things that I took from that experience with my leadership staff and how they encouraged me was, I'm going to encourage her. And I know that it was something that she had on her list and things, that she wanted to do. I've now given her the encouragement to say, you can do this and I will support you along the way. Tell me what you need. How can I be accommodating to your journey? And let me know if there's something that I can do. And you mentioned another thing too, which is, your family. You can also lean on your family. I will say that, my oldest daughter, when I was starting my journey, had just graduated from high school. She was starting, her higher education journey. my youngest daughter was just starting high school, and I leaned a lot on them. I struggle with math. It's difficult for me because I'm trying to figure out, how to integers and everything else. Where am I going to use that in my job? I don't use that. So it doesn't make sense to me. And so I had a difficult time relating to it. I leaned on my family. I leaned on both my daughters to say, help me out with this. Help me understand these concepts because I'm struggling with it. And so there are things, it's not just support that you can rely on your family with, but there's other things that, you don't know. Maybe your spouse or significant other or your children have some experiences that they can help you, at least give you a little bit of guidance, or even just, hey, Dad, we know you can do it. It was interesting. And when I graduated from University of Phoenix, I was like, okay, I did it. And both my daughters and my wife were like, well, do you get to walk? Do you get to do? And I'm like, I don't think that they do that. I don't think that happens. I did find out that there actually is a ceremony that happens, but it's in California, I think was the one that was happening in 2023. And I was like, well, I can't fly to California just for this. And I would want my family to be there too. It just probably wasn't in the cards. But I did find out that you can order a cap and gown, and you can get cords, and you can do all those things. And my kids were like, Dad, you got to do it. And I was like, I don't know if that's, is that cheesy? I don't know. So I ordered my cap and gown. It's not that expensive. I got the cords that go along with, my GPA and, and so anyways, I got all that. They had me put it all on, and they took pictures of me outside with it on. So it was, that part of it was kind of neat. So you can make it part of your family, and your family will celebrate your successes with you, and you should celebrate those successes. It is an achievement, and it gives you a lot of confidence that you never thought of. And now when people ask me, I don't beat around the bush. When you're talking to other colleagues. In fact, I had my first opportunity not that long ago. I was invited to go to San Diego. They paid for me to fly out there to a waterworks organization that supports affordability and water conservation, which are two things that are near and dear to my heart that I do here in Detroit. And they invited me out there to be a keynote speaker. And so I'm like, me? Like, wow. So I got to go. They flew me out there, and I got to do that. And it was one of the things when I was meeting with the moderator and some other folks that were leading this conference was, so Matt, tell us, where'd you go to school? Where'd you graduate from? And I was like, I graduated from University of Phoenix. And it just rolled right off my tongue. And they said, wow, how long ago was that? And I was like, well, it was about 12 months ago. And so they were like kind of looking at me like, if I had hair, it would be gray. But they were like, wow, like just a year ago. And I was like, yep, as a matter of fact, it was just a year ago. And so proud of what I accomplished. So at the first of the year, I will be starting my master's program with University of Phoenix.
Congratulations. That's excellent. I was just going to tell you, you can still walk. I believe we have one here in Arizona coming up fairly soon. So if you still wanted to walk, I'm confident we'd be able to work that out for you. So talk to the family, see if that's something that you want to do. But how exciting, your master's degree. Is it also going to be in business?
It is. Makes sense.
Well, early congratulations. It completely does. It completely does. Tell me more about the affordable program that you created.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm really passionate about is helping low-income families be successful, and it's difficult to do on a low income, and you have a lot of competing priorities, whether that's medical issues, keeping food on the table, to helping your kids, with their homework. There's all kinds of resource issues that happen with homes, and I have a real big passion about it, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And I've worked in a lot of different areas around affordability issues in the heating and cooling space. Sometimes we call that gas, natural gas and electricity and that type of thing. And being with the water department, that's just, it's something that, the basis of it is that you cannot live more than your organs start to shut down in your body after 3 days of having no water. You can ask the World Health Organization, you can look it up anywhere you want. And most humans, after 5 days of no water will die. That's just the way it is. I mean, you can live days, weeks without food. Most of us can somehow find a way to, not have electricity in their house for weeks at a time. And in fact, that was one of the kind of catalysts was, I was sitting watching, your typical, shows that they have on TV about homesteading and that type of thing where, what's the first thing that they do? I gotta find water, find a source of water, and I gotta find shelter. Those are the two things. And so they make TV shows out of this stuff, right? And I'm watching this going, how is it that we can allow a family to go without water? And what can we do? And they have these competing priorities within their home. And one of the things, I was trying to figure out was, how do we make water affordable? What other things are out there? When I say things, what type of resources are available, whether that's, at a state level, a local level, a federal level that we can couple, right? And how can we take some of these financial resources together and still make things dignified within the home? People want to pay their bills. People want to contribute to the success of their household. And people have pride, and people will go without so that they can keep pride and other things at the forefront. And so one of the things we looked at is what would be affordable, and what are the percentages that people could afford to pay within a household. And we found that if you live at or below the poverty level, paying $18 a month towards your water bill is affordable. So we had to figure out how do we supplement the rest of the bill, right? If the typical water bill is, 80, I'm making up numbers, but $80 a month, and you can afford to pay $20 a month, how can we find ways to supplement through other means? So once we accomplished that it was, now how do we take other people that don't have this line that they can draw with their paycheck to say, I'm living below poverty level, I need assistance. How do we take the rest of us, and I say us, because there's the rest of us in the world that have the same competing priorities, but are now juggling. It's a matter of, well, I can pay my water bill, but I can't afford to pay my electric bill right now today. So how do we find different ways? And I was like, literally, how do we make things easy? And somebody else, one of my colleagues said to me, well, how do we make it easy to pay? And so we kind of put that together and we came up with Easy Pay. How do we take, and we had a large percentage of our customers within the city that were behind in their water bill, but they didn't necessarily qualify for what we would truly say is an affordability program, where income-wise, they weren't eligible for some type of benefit, federal, local, state type of benefit that would be there for them. But they've gotten behind because we didn't turn people's water off during COVID because they needed to wash their hands. That led to you, but you still need to cook. You still need to wash your hands. How do I turn off the water at someone's home knowing that their 13-year-old daughter was going to not be able to take a bath or cook and go to school the next day? As teenagers, we all know what our bodies go through and what type of smells come from our bodies when we're teenagers. How do you allow that to happen? It's not, from a hygiene perspective, from a cooking perspective, how do we just allow that to happen? And I really fought for coming up with a program that said, how do we take someone's bill that they're behind on, and how do we spread it out over 36 months with no interest, Just put $10 down and we'll get you onto a program that over the next 36 months, we can spread out your payments. And it's easy, right? You don't have to have any income requirements. You don't have to prove to us that we know that you're behind. We don't need you to prove anything to us. Let's just take your past due bill, put $10 down, and we'll just spread it out and we'll make things easy for you. And that's what we came up with. And we implemented it very, very rapidly, which again is one of those things that, I had colleagues of mine that I was working with here that were like, whoa, slow your roll. We got to really think about this. And I'm like, there's nothing to think about. We just need to do this for the people. For our people, we need to do this, and we need to make things easy for them. Let's get them back on track. Let's not have them worry about things. Let's make this. Some people say it's really not affordable. It's not an affordability program because you didn't give them anything. Well, I did. I gave them the benefit of spreading out their payments, not having any interest, and I would venture to say. I would challenge anybody to say, tell me any other utility in this country that's doing the same type of things that we're doing. And we have two different programs. We have the Lifeline program and we have the Lifeline program. I'm sorry, Easy Pay and Lifeline. We have two different programs for two different groups of people that puts them back on the right track and keeps their water on, which to me, that is my success. I found a way for you to pay your bill on a monthly basis that's affordable, that you can afford, and your water won't be turned off, and you can still keep the hygiene in your house. You can still keep clean. You can still cook. To me, those are all the important things, and I'll work with just about anybody. And the Easy Pay program, I was looking across the country, talking to other colleagues in other states and other cities that were like, we've tried stuff like that. We've had a couple thousand people in it. We have 10,000 people in the program after the first 60 days. It's a huge success. It's been all over the media. And I'm just, at the end of the day, it's not because I did anything. It's because it's successful because 10,000 people in our city and growing every day are able to, 1,000 people, a little over 1,000 people, every single week are getting on the program. They're keeping their water on. It's affordable. They're making their payments. They're being successful. Success.
It takes my breath away that your measurement of success is helping others. This program has to have been so impactful for those people who couldn't pay their bills. But to your point, you brought up something, and I feel like I don't hear often from people in your position. These people have pride. They want to pay their bill. That's what they would desire to do. They just don't have the means. And some are choosing between eating and feeding that 13-year-old or giving her the opportunity to take a bath. And you opening up the opportunity for them to be able to do both and still having respect for themselves and their children to be able to benefit from that is so powerful. And the fact that that is where you find success is helping others succeed and to find pride and a way to move forward in a way that's achievable is just, it's mind-blowing to me and admirable.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you, because like I said, there's not many that I know in positions like yours that think that way. I did have another guest that said something that I think aligns with you and your leadership style. She said, it's not just hard work, it's heart work, because she was so passionate about what it is that she was doing. She said, it's hard. It's a challenge. The things that she sees, the late nights, it's a challenge, but it's worth it. It's the hard work. And I think that aligns too with the way in which you're moving.
Yeah, there's multiple ways that people can see things. And I think our society in general sees things from a title perspective, the job title that they have, or what people might think about what they do, or what their paycheck says at the end of the day. There is so much more to life and so much more to success than just those things. and knowing that, for me, 10,000 households in our city they're achieving success in their own household. That to me makes that's I go home at night saying I did the right thing, right? That is the right thing to do. And to the person you spoke of, you said one word, the passion, right? So what you're doing on a daily basis, and I say that when you're looking for candidates and you're looking for people to join your organization as well, look for the passion that those people have, or what passion you think they might bring to your organization. That's what's uplifting, right? I don't know if this has been said to me numerous times, but it's not about giving people a handout. It's about giving people a hand up. There's a difference between the two.
Absolutely. Not about giving people a handout. It's about giving people the hand up. That may be my next quote.
There you go.
That's a very good one. Oh my goodness. What I've learned about you today is that you are a humble servant leader with a great passion for helping other people. You have an awesome family, a wife you've known since the 6th grade, which is incredible. And she's been a driving force for you in achieving your goals. And you've gotten your degree here at University of Phoenix, and you are on your way to your master's. And we are so excited to have you back on the show once you graduate. I want to see you walk across that stage, though.
All right.
Okay, it's a promise.
It's a promise. I've got all the regalia to go along with it, so I have no excuse.
There's a different robe for masters.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
I won't. I'll let you have the surprise. I won't tell you the new special thing, but you get a new robe for masters.
Now I'm even more excited. 12 months from now, right? It's an 11-month program, right?
That's right. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see you walk across that stage. So now I have rapid fire questions for you.
Uh-oh.
And these are so much fun.
Okay. All right. I love fun.
All right. Yes,
I don't know how much more fun could it have gotten so far?
It has been so much fun. It has been a blast. And this is your wrap up. So I'm excited about it.
Okay.
So first question, book that changed your life.
Book that changed my life. Wow. That's a big one. Z for Zachariah.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Oh, I am neither. So I know that's a weird answer, right? So I believe in what your body tells you to do. So when it's time to wake up, it's time to wake up. Get up with a purpose. And when your body tells you it's time to go to bed, it's time to go to bed, no matter how much fun you're having. So because I believe your body tells you what to do. So yeah, I'm kind of neither. I can go either way. So sometimes I wake up early, and when my body says it's time, I'm up. And sometimes Saturday, I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, ready to go. And on Sunday, I didn't wake up till 10 in the morning. So there you go.
Listen to your body. That's a good one. I may have to add that in there. That's really good. Your go-to productivity hack.
Productivity hack. You've got some questions. These are just, I thought you were going to I thought for sure rapid fire was going to be what kind of candy bar do you like? I'm I just say Butterfinger. That's easy. Productivity hack.
I think you actually gave it away earlier. You said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you were getting your degree, you actually used your lunchtime and a little bit of your time before you went home to do the majority of your homework so you weren't stuck on the weekends. Yeah,
I am a procrastinator, so my productivity hacks are few and far between. But yes, I will take what you just gave me, is that just use every opportunity you have to, and I call it sneaking in, to sneak in the things that you need to do, because if you try to do it all at once, especially as a procrastinator, that's what triggers you to say, this is just going to take forever. But if I can do 45 minutes at a time and just come back to it, it makes it so much easier on, I think, the stress level that you have of what I need to accomplish. If you can just take little bites at a time, that's definitely my productivity hack is little bites at a time make it easier. It reduces the stress level.
Absolutely. And we could use less stress.
Yes.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Plan your work and work your plan.
Plan your work and work your plan.
My dad said that to me. I don't think he's the one that came up with it. I don't, but that was his motto was plan your work and work your plan. And that has always stuck with me. If you have a plan, you can work it out.
Well, I've never heard it before, so we're going to go ahead and credit it to Dad.
All right. Good. Thank you.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, you do not want to hear me sing at all. And it drives my kids and my wife absolutely crazy. But the weird thing is I have a weird knack of remembering weird trivia questions, which also makes me keep in my brain lyrics to songs. And so it doesn't matter and I like all kinds of genres of music, but I can sing along out loud to all kinds of music and from all kinds of different artists. And I know the words from a long time ago till today, but you do not want me to do any karaoke. I do not sing and I do not dance and I am not musically inclined in any way, shape, or form.
And then your last one is simply your personal motto.
Well, my personal motto is really just plan your work and work your plan. But at the end of the day, my motto is just it's cliche as it may be, it's just no regrets. Live your life with no regrets. Make decisions with no regrets.
That is excellent. I completely agree. And the floor is yours. These are your closing thoughts. If there's anything you want our audience to know, or if you have any other advice you wanted to give, feel free.
Create a bucket list. As much as I know that became a cliche statement, and I know there was a movie that was made about it, but create a bucket list. Write it down. What are the things that you want to do in your life? And the bucket list will change. It will migrate and, things will fall off and new things will get added, but definitely create a bucket list and work your way to checking things off the list. And it doesn't always have to be, I want to travel around the world. I want to go to Europe, but I've had a bucket list of going back to school and getting my bachelor's degree. It was always on my list. It just may have been at the bottom of the bucket. And so, but keep it there. And always look at it and reflect on it. And I read this once somewhere that said, always continue to write your own eulogy. I know that sounds kind of sick, but what would you want? Always work towards, never give up writing your own eulogy. So what is it that you would want when it's your time to go? What is it that you want other people to say about you? I'll leave that for everybody else to kind of decide what that means to them. But.
Absolutely. Well, I know that you have a lot more to accomplish, so that you're going to be here for a long time. What I would say I've learned about you is that you are going to continue to serve and change lives in your community. And we are grateful for you. We're excited to watch you walk across that stage with your master's degree, and to watch those two incredible daughters and your awesome wife cheer for you as you do so.
Thank you.
Matthew, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your incredible journey with us. That brings us to the end of this episode of Degrees of Success. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm your host, Freda Richards, reminding you that your next chapter might just be your best one yet. See you next time.